I'm Cody Bashor, and welcome back to the Lumberjack Flashback, where we are revisiting some of the biggest moments of the past decade. Today, I'm joined by David McNeill, one of Northern Arizona's most accomplished distance runners and a 2015 inductee into the NAU Athletics Hall of Fame. David, how are you doing?
Very good. Feeling a little old, considering myself as a flashback, but very, very happy to be here.
You are the oldest moment of we're doing the past decade, and yours is 2010, so you are the longest one.
Yeah, geez, 10 years ago. That's flown by.
Where are you joining me from today?
So I am in the future. I'm about 18 hours ahead of you. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So
obviously, COVID's interrupted a lot of things for a lot of people. You're obviously still running professionally. How have you been doing the last couple weeks or months or so with kind of managing that, and how are you staying in shape?
yeah, look, I mean, in many ways, specifically as a runner, not a whole lot has changed. I still get outside and go for a run, and obviously maintaining social distances and being aware of just being smart around hygiene and things like that. The situation's evolved a little bit in across Australia in terms of some lifting of regulations. So probably in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been able to gather again in small training groups. So I've been able to do some training with my regular training group again, which has been really good fun. Other than that, it's kind of like business as usual, but without races to prepare for. So the training itself is a little bit different. Just kind of trying to stay fit and healthy, but in that respect, it's kind of just kept on going.
That's good to hear. We obviously are hoping, that big things are still ahead in your future, and you're not too old yet.
Well, yeah, hopefully not. I'm what am I? 33. So hopefully still got my best years ahead.
So jumping back, there's a lot of different moments we could talk about in your career at NAU, but there's one that obviously stands out, which is the 2010 track and field season. You, I believe, are the only NAU runner to have swept the indoor and outdoor in the same distance from a quick look back there, having won the 5K in both seasons. So that season kind of starts off, and we'll go back to the 2009 cross season first, and you finish as the runner-up to Sam Chalanga in that race, and that kind of triggers a fun season for you two. What kind of shape were you in following the cross season going into the indoor season?
Yeah, I'd even take it step back maybe 3 months before that, which the outdoor season in 2009, and I think that was probably a bit of a turning point for me. The previous outdoor season, I finished second to Galen Rupp, and then that summer I went overseas and competed at my first outdoor World Championships, and kind of just was sort of exposed to a whole new level of competition. And I think going into that cross season, my mentality had changed a little bit. I think I had a little bit more confidence in what I was doing. I was a little bit more aggressive with my training. And it set up for a really good cross-country season. And Sam Chalanga had been kind of the star distance athlete returning that season, with Galen Rupp having finished and a few other people having finished the season before. I remember throughout the season, Sam was dominating, pre-nats and regionals. He was in a different region. So we got to nationals, and I think at pre-nats he'd swept everyone by 30, 40 seconds. So he took the race out from the gun, and kind of left everyone in his wake. And I think, look, to be honest, it was a battle for second place at that point. I was fortunate to nab second from, I think, Chris Derrick from Stanford, and I think it was Barnabas Karui maybe from maybe Ole Miss. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it was kind of a stepping stone sort of season in terms of just building some confidence and belief that I had the capacity to race at that sort of pointy end of the field.
So you get to the indoors, and like you said, Sam's at Liberty, so he's on the other side of the country. You don't run against him, you don't see him too much. Did you pay attention to any times that he was putting up as the year went on, or you kind of focused on yourself and your own training?
Yeah, so at that point, probably not so much. When it came to the outdoor season, there was one race in particular where he set the collegiate record in the 10K, and that kind of changed everything. But certainly going into the indoor season, yeah, look, I think we both had, I guess, reasonably strong performances. I think I had the fastest time on the board for the 5K and the 3K, and yeah, that certainly gave me some confidence going into the race. And yeah, look, I knew I think coming off the cross country season, I knew that if I could actually stay in contact with him from the gun, then I might actually be a shot. And that's kind of how it worked out at the indoor championships. We were kind of neck and neck most of the race, and it was just this gradual wind up of the pace, and then I was still there with a lap to go, and yeah, that's always been a confidence point for me. If I can be in contention with a lap to go, then 10 years ago I had a reasonably good kick. Yeah, it's not too shabby nowadays, but maybe not as good as it was back then.
I guess, how did you develop as a runner with that kind of mindset of knowing strategically where to put yourself? Does that just kind of come with age as you put more races in and you kind of race against elite competition more often?
Yeah, combination of factors. That's all of that, really. I think it's just gradually building confidence from race to race. Having the confidence to put yourself in the mix and be competitive in that sort of that top echelon of competitors, and then just doing it consistently. And to actually get to that point, it relies on having a good team around you. And I had a fantastic team around me, not just from a coaching perspective, but a teammate perspective. And look, at the end of the day, you're at least in my case, your performances are only as strong physically as they are mentally. And I was in a good frame of mind. I was having fun doing it, and it was a great great time in my life. And Coach Hines, he managed me pretty well. I remember that indoor season. During the season, I was training pretty lousily. Like I was struggling a little bit, and workouts weren't looking too good, and getting beaten by everyone else in the team. But you just kind of that was the great thing, having such a fun team around you, and it just kind of kept me consistent. And I got my things together, and it worked out in the end.
You get to that outdoor season, and he's beat you once, you beat him once in these races competitively at NCAA. Yeah. Was there any pressure to beat him two out of the 3 times? I mean, I know he also takes the 10K title in the outdoors as well. So you do kind of prevent him from being able to sweep the longest distance or so at a handful of these races. Yeah. Look, I think I went from being a very clear underdog to potentially being not so much the underdog. And but there was one important change in the interim, is that Sam ran I think 27:08 for 10K and set the collegiate record at the 10K. And it was a different distance, but that is an absolutely world-class time. And I think most people's jaws dropped when they saw that, and mine included. So I knew it would be a new ball game come the outdoor championships in Eugene. But yeah, look, I think I was just sort of in that mindset of control the controllables, and I got a qualifying time, I got through conference and regional championships, and put myself on the start line, and then just was ready for whatever happened. And it did mean a lot to me being in Eugene, Tracktown, USA, which, not just in the USA, but throughout the world, is a pretty special place to compete for any track and field athlete. So, and I had my parents there, so there's a little added pressure. So, look, it ended up being kind of a slow tactical race, and that probably in the end suited me. If Sam had run like he had it
is 27:08, then who knows? It could have been a different result.
When you look back to the race, I think right as you're hitting the bell lap, you move up in front. I think you were right around second or third or so. You take the lead and you hit the curve there, starting the last lap. Was that kind of a tactical decision when you had to make a move there and then just kind of hold on for the last 400 meters?
Yeah, look, I think I was at that point. I was kind of playing to my strengths and what I knew and had confidence in terms of what I could do. That it was kind of a slow tactical race, and probably over the last 3 or 4 laps, the pace did start to wind up, and I think that even the second last lap was a 59-second lap. So by that point, we were motoring pretty hard. So to actually get in front with the lap to go off a 59-second last lap, it was a bit of a risk because you're already sort of getting to the last few gears that you've got available, and I just kind of went for it and didn't second guess myself. And at that point, it was like always that the goal once you hit the lead is just don't let it up. And that's what I kind of tried to do. I remember getting to 200 meters to go and feeling like I didn't have any more gears left, and I could still sense Sam was there. And look, it was just just a battle of attrition at that point, just to get to the finish line. And look, fortunately I did, and I have since seen the race, and I certainly didn't make up any more ground at that point. But I think we were both on our last gears, and that's where it pays off to kind of take the lead when I did, and just kind of hold on.
So all this happens at NAU under Coach Eric Hines, who, as you mentioned to me before, isn't actually the coach who originally recruited you. How did you kind of end up at NAU, and how did that relationship develop with someone that you had to kind of really build a relationship pretty quickly with?
Yeah. Look, so I was recruited by Coach John Hayes, who was Coach Hines' predecessor. Look, I think for a variety of reasons, he decided to move to the Air Force right before I arrived, and so there was a lot of unknowns going when I arrived at NAU, and it was I remember it was pretty tumultuous first sort of month on campus, and kind of getting my head around things, let alone having a new coach. To be honest, I think that the coaching side of things was the least of my worries. It was just it was more life administration issues. But look, I think in and I've had the good fortune of keeping in good contact with John Hayes as well, and having sat down with him in years since then. But look, I think at the end of the day, it was a great outcome. Coach Hines and I are pretty similar sort of people, and I think we just kind of clicked. We're both sort of I don't know mild-mannered sort of shy sort of people, and both really passionate about what we're doing from an athlete and a coach perspective, and we had a lot of fun along the way. I know I gave him grief. I know my Australian teammate Ben Ashkettle and I both gave him grief at different times along the way, but I'd like to think we can look back at it and laugh at it a little bit, and as you know, Coach Hines is who put you and I, Cody, in contact today. So we clearly still keep in contact, and have a lifelong friendship now.
So you're part of the group, as Coach Hines was here, that really helped pave the way to an eventual national championship in Hines' final year at NAU. And obviously, and a whole host of different runners who have placed in indoor and outdoors in these distance races. How proud are you to be a pretty big part of getting this program to another level, to where it really is an elite national power?
Yeah, look, I'm incredibly proud to have been a part of it. And I don't necessarily say this to be humble, but I don't necessarily think that I had a great deal to do with it. I think probably the biggest aspect that's kind of seen the growth of the program and led to what was a historic three-peat was really just an evolution of the culture of the cross country at NAU. And you know, that started well before I was there. You know, back in the 80s, and the infamous magical season, which you know, some NAU cross country historians will know what I'm talking about there. But look, I was very privileged to be a part of it, and it really was just the evolution of a culture. You know, a good team environment, which you know, we had our sort of annual cross country camp at the start of the season, and I think some of those sort of traditions stay on today. And you know, we had our lucky travelling Louis Lumberjack piece of wood while we were there. That may not have persisted to this day, but look, there was a lot of tradition, and I think that's all. All of those sort of traditions are very important in building a culture and building something that each member, you know, when I was there and since I've been there, are really proud to be a part of, and having that pride, I think, brings a little bit more meaning to the process and actually you know, getting better and building a strong team. And you know, I was fortunate to be a part of it, but look, the making of it was certainly in large part Coach Hines. You know, I started in 2007, and I think the first of the three-peat was in 2016. So it was kind of a 10-season process to get there, and it was very methodical. And I'm sure Coach Hines would attest to that. And every decision from start to finish definitely led to that dynasty.
We have a quick tease that, you know, that we probably might be addressing the 2016 team in this series of videos eventually as well.
Good.
That's all the questions I have for you. David, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again next time when we continue this Lumberjack Flashback.